Hello everyone. Tonight, I sit here to share another story of my military life, when fighting in the southwestern border and the Cambodian battlefield. This is the third story, a special mission that I have ever carried out, an extremely difficult and dangerous mission. At that time, our unit had moved up near the Hong Ngo border, Dong Thap, no longer stationed in the old position. When we got there, we started digging tunnels, building fortifications, deploying combat formations from company, platoon, down to squad level, ready to fight at any time. One day, Mr. Fong called me to the company to assign a task. He said, "This time, the mission is very difficult, requiring secrecy, speed and decisiveness." I listened, my heart filled with excitement. Only when he gave me the assignment did I realize that it was a very important mission. I was given 2 colored smoke bombs, tasked with penetrating deep into enemy territory to mark the positions they were occupying. At this time, the Chinese army was still invading our land. They built bases, trenches, and fortifications right on Vietnamese territory. My mission was to sneak in there, mark the target with colored smoke, and help the Air Force and artillery determine the exact location to bomb and destroy. Accompanying me on this mission was a battalion scout. The two of us coordinated together to carry out the mission. Mr. Fong saw that this mission was too dangerous, so in addition to me and the battalion scout, he also sent another person to go with us, that was Comrade Nam, whom I trusted very much and who was also a brave and stubborn person. For this mission, we were given 2 colored smoke bombs, which were used to mark the target. However, it was important to attack during the day, because the yellow and red smoke would burn clearly, helping the Air Force and artillery determine the exact location. If burned at night, the smoke would not be effective, so we had to choose the right time. After receiving the mission, we were trained on how to use colored smoke, because although we had some small combat experience before, this was the first time we participated in an important mission like this. We had never participated in a major battle before, only capturing or shooting down a few enemies, but this time it was a special mission and the level of danger was much higher. To prepare thoroughly, the battalion scouts brought along military maps, marked important locations, and also guided us on how to navigate using compasses to ensure we reached the correct areas to be marked. At that time, my unit belonged to C3, D9, E10, F339, and was assigned to prepare to depart at night. After finishing the training, we had dinner, then rested to prepare to depart at around 9 to 10 p.m. Because this was a reconnaissance mission, it was necessary to have someone familiar with the terrain, so the battalion scout would lead the way, using maps and compasses to get us to the right location. As for me and Comrade Nam, the main task was to mark the target with colored smoke, then retreat safely before the artillery and Air Force opened fire. I took the 2 colored smoke bombs, full of excitement, knowing that this was not just a simple mission, but a real challenge, that could put our lives in danger at any moment. My brother and I were given 2 colored smoke bombs, 1 yellow and 1 red. After the training session, we knew how to use them, but this mission was still extremely dangerous. Because to complete the mission, we had to go deep into enemy territory, find the exact location occupied by the Chinese army, then mark it with colored smoke so that the Air Force and artillery could determine the target to attack. The most important thing is that after marking, the 2 brothers must retreat safely. If discovered, we will most likely be destroyed on the spot. Our plan was to march through the night, calculating the travel time so that when we arrived just in time for dawn, we could mark the target during the day, making the colored smoke stand out, making it easy for the Air Force and artillery to observe. The battalion scout, our guide, did not let us follow the trail. He said, "The trail is very dangerous, there could be mines or enemy ambushes. We have to weave through the rice fields, taking unexpected paths. I know this journey will be very difficult, because this area is full of flooded, muddy land, and extremely difficult to travel. Worries me most is not being discovered by the enemy, but leeches. In the area near the border, especially in flooded areas, there are a lot of leeches, some as big as a thumb. Just waiting in the water for a while, leeches will stick all over your feet, making you shiver, but you still have to move forward, unable to stop to handle them. When approaching the border, I observed that the terrain on the Cambodian side was higher than that on the Vietnamese side. Open fields there, easier to move around, but on our side there were only rice fields, so traveling was very difficult. To avoid being detected, we could not walk on the trails, but had to wade in the water, tiptoeing step by step, weaving through every bush, every rice field, gradually moving towards the enemy base. The cold of the late night, combined with the water seeping into their bodies, made their bodies tremble, but the two brothers still gritted their teeth and endured, quietly moving deeper into the dangerous area. As we went deeper, the terrain began to change, the water gradually dried up, and moving became easier. But the battalion scout still did not let us go up the trail, for fear that the enemy had planted mines there. He said softly, "These roads are heavily mined, just a little carelessness and you'll be blown to pieces." Hearing that, the three of us continued to dodge, avoiding areas suspected of having mines, patiently advancing step by step. At this time, I carried 2 colored smoke bombs, an AK, and 3 grenades on my belt. Comrade Nam also held an AK, and the battalion scout led the way, also fully equipped with guns and ammunition, ready to deal with any situation. Finally, we approached the enemy's encampment and could see their fortified posts. The scout signaled, "They are stationed ahead, we need to make a detour, don't get discovered." The 3 brothers moved silently, avoiding all fixed posts, choosing only routes without enemy guards. Reaching the target marker, a new problem arose. The ground here is all water, there is no dry place to burn colored smoke. I started to worry, because if the colored smoke got wet, it probably wouldn't burn, and the mission would fail. At this moment, I suddenly realized something important. I've never used colored smoke in real combat, will it work as it's supposed to? This situation is really tense, because there is only one more step, the mission can be completed. When the 3 of us went deep into the border area, everything was generally safe, with no signs of being detected. But an unexpected situation happened right after that. In the area we went to, there were 2 palm trees standing alone, in the middle of an empty field. This was a high point, which could be used for observation. At this time, we divided the tasks. Comrade Nam is on guard duty, monitoring the surrounding situation. The scout also kept watch, observing the terrain, checking for signs of enemy underground fortifications. I focused on analyzing, determining the location of the colored smoke, and at the same time making an escape plan in case of being exposed. We have several backup plans. Option 1, if detected, withdraw immediately to a safe direction. Option 2, if you can't retreat, lie still and wait until night before escaping, because during the day the open fields are too easy to be discovered. The situation is tense, but the more careful, the less mistakes. We continued to approach the 2 palm trees, stopping to observe carefully. I noticed that under the tree there was a small path, probably where the enemy troops often moved back and forth. Now, a new problem arises. Is there any enemy fortification in this area? We had to watch very carefully, because with just one wrong step, we could step into a trap, or be ambushed immediately. At this time, all 3 brothers lie down, take advantage of the terrain to hide, continue to observe carefully before deciding to burn colored smoke. Only the palm tree was the only place without water, but the surrounding area was still flooded, making us have to consider carefully before acting. The 3 of us were still lying still in the water, eyes watching closely. The water was about 20 centimeters above our bodies, freezing cold. Just then, an unexpected situation occurred. 2 Pol Pot soldiers came from the direction of Cambodia. One of them was carrying a very long gun, at first glance I could tell it was a sniper rifle. The other was carrying an AK and had a scope on his chest. These 2 men went straight towards the 2 palm trees, where we were hiding nearby. They stood still, pointing around, as if discussing something very important. Then the guy with binoculars started climbing the tree, while the guy with the long gun stood below watching. At this time, Comrade Nam whispered to me. "This guy seems to be a sniper. Look, his long gun is not like a normal AK." I looked again. It was true that its gun was very long, not a normal rifle. Our hiding position to the two enemies, only about 35 meters, within our accurate shooting range. I tensed, ready to strike first, but the battalion scout, our guide and group commander, signaled us to stop. He said softly, "It's easy to take down these two, but after you shoot, can you guys retreat?" That statement made me suddenly awake. Yes, if we opened fire, we would definitely kill both of them, but then the enemy would discover us, the whole area would become a fire pit, and the three of us would have no way to escape. We continued to lie still, observing, waiting for the next move of the two enemies. After about 10 minutes, the sniper climbed to the top of the tree, adjusted his scope, and seemed to be preparing some plan. The sniper sat on top of the palmyra tree, observed for a long time, then slowly climbed down. At this time, Comrade Nam and I both had the same thought. We can capture these two alive. But the scout, the direct commander, had a completely different opinion. He did not agree to attack, saying that the possibility of capturing them alive was very low, and even if they were captured, they could not be brought back safely, because the terrain was open and it was easy for the enemy to detect and chase them. At this time, Comrade Nam was angry and whispered to me, "Shoot the fuck out. After shooting, we'll retreat immediately, the mission is still complete, we can still run." But the biggest problem was that the colored smoke had not burned yet, and if the colored smoke was not burned, the Air Force would not have coordinates to bomb, and the mission would fail. I was also hesitant, because shooting down these two guys was very easy, but if I did, the original plan would be disrupted. Comrade Nam proposed another solution. "Shoot these two first, then retreat a bit, then light the colored smoke and run back." It sounded reasonable, but the scout still did not agree. He shook his head firmly. "No. We don't have enough troops to extend the engagement. Firing now would be suicide." While the three brothers were arguing, the two Pol Pot soldiers were still sitting under the palmyra palm tree, discussing something, their guns still in hand. The atmosphere was tense, a decision had to be made immediately. Two Pol Pot soldiers were still sitting under the palmyra palm tree, smoking, the smoke rising with a very strong smell. Comrade Nam and I looked at each other, both wanting to act immediately, but still waiting for a signal from the scout. Finally, the scout agreed to act. He said, "Destroy these two first. If there's smoke, burn it if you can, if not, retreat." Hearing that, the three brothers immediately closed in, crawled a little further, and approached from three different directions. At this time, we divided the attack. Comrade Nam aimed at the sniper and fired the first round. The scout shot straight at the remaining guy, who was wearing an AK on his back. As for me, I provide fire support, ready to intercept if the enemy reacts. The first volley of bullets tore through the night, and both enemies fell down immediately. As soon as the gunshots rang out, all three of us immediately lay still, holding our breath to observe and see if the enemy would react. I strained my eyes to look at the enemy posts, listening for any strange noises. But there was absolutely nothing. I whispered. Maybe they thought it was their teammates' gunshots. Waited another 30 minutes, still quiet. At this point, we quickly crawled up, took the weapons of the two soldiers, and then retreated to a safer distance. After creating enough distance, we decided to burn colored smoke to indicate the target. However, a big problem arises. The ground is full of water. Burning colored smoke underwater may not burn. There was no other way. I had to climb the palm tree, to place the colored smoke in a higher position, to help the smoke fly clearly. The two scouts and Nam stood below on guard, while I climbed to the top of the tree, placed both colored smoke bombs in one place, and lit them. According to the rules of combat, 2 different points should be lit to avoid the enemy from detecting the location of the smoke releaser. But to be safe, I burn both colored smokes on the same stick, making sure the smoke rises as high as possible. I climbed up the palm tree, looking for a suitable place to put the colored smoke, then suddenly discovered something surprising. On top of this tree, the sniper had sat many times. He even built a hiding place, making a small stand to lie down and observe. This guy is a professional sniper. He even built a fortification in the tree to keep an eye on our troops. Thinking so, I carefully placed the 2 colored smoke bombs in the most secure place. But when I lit it, only one burned, the other didn't smoke. I lit it many times, but it still didn't burn. At this time, sweat poured out. The more I worked, the more impatient I became. Finally, deciding to discard the first one, I took the second one and started over. As soon as I saw smoke rising, I immediately climbed down and prepared to retreat with my brothers. The scout, with his extensive experience, signaled. "Don't retreat the same way. If they find us, they'll ambush us there." Instead of going back the way we came, we cut across in another direction, moved 300 meters to a perpendicular line, and then headed straight towards the border. After walking a few hundred meters, I turned back and saw yellow smoke billowing up, but the red smoke bomb did not burn, so I had to throw it away. The colored smoke spread out, standing out against the bright sky. At this point, we accelerated our retreat, but still observed from a distance. Only about 15 minutes later, our Air Force jets appeared. I don't know if it was a MiG or what kind, I just saw them circle around, then start dropping bombs. The sound of bombs resounded, the ground shook, and columns of smoke rose high into the sky. We don't know how many enemies died, but seeing the bombs falling continuously, we are sure they did not survive. Hearing the sound of bombs exploding continuously, I looked at Comrade Nam. Both of us smiled with satisfaction. Mission accomplished. We returned to the company, carrying a sniper rifle, an AK, and an enemy scope. When we arrived, everyone in the unit was happy and gathered around to ask questions. We just completed the mission, got revenge on Pol Pot, and most importantly, all 3 brothers returned safely. When we returned, the whole company and battalion were delighted to receive the news of victory. Everyone congratulated and praised the 3 brothers for completing their mission excellently. In particular, killing the enemy sniper made everyone even more excited. Standing surrounded by my teammates, I suddenly felt deeply that the real battle had begun. From here, we officially entered the Southwestern Border War, a fierce, persistent, and sacrificial war. Our unit, Battalion 10, Division 339, was in charge of the Honggu, Dong Thap area, one of the hot spots of the war. Bigger battles are still ahead. Now, when I turn back the pages of my old diaries, I remember many stories, fierce, dangerous battles, encounters with death, but also the joy of victory, and above all, sacred camaraderie. I will continue to tell those stories, so that comrades and friends can better understand a heroic period of Vietnamese soldiers. Hello comrades. See you in the next stories.